So on the actual CRAFTsynth device itself, what I do is I already have the patches set up for breath control. And it's kind of tricky. You have to have the filter frequency all the way like down. You send like 30% or something of the breath to the filter, and it's real touchy. The envelope amount makes a big difference. That's where I was having a hard time at first getting the CRAFTsynth to even be able to swell into a note from 0. And then I figured out, oh, it's because I need to also be tweaking the envelope amount on every patch. And then when I started doing that, I did open it right, okay. When I started doing that, then I started to get the breath working better. So my CRAFTsynth's on down there. I use the same 6 or 8 patches all the time, so that works fine. And what I do, so it's the mono input, and it immediately goes into Voltage Modular, which is the ladder filter, but you can defeat it by just doing this. So you defeat the ladder filter, and I'm going to turn off the ambient reverb because I have the other reverb going on my mixer. It's kind of a thin sound, so I can add some chorus, which is also defeated, so it was already on the basic setting. Not a lot, not real wet. Without it. Now the ladder filter, I have it set so there's a good amount of resonance on here. So you're going to get that mogi sound. Now one of the patches I have in my CRAFTsynth, if I switch it, is like an init patch where it is filter all the way open, nothing going on with the envelope. It sounds like this. But then when you put on the breath controlled modular filter, which is going to be scaled similar to the other ones. So on this one, I think it's going to the frequency of both filters because I can switch. I could switch it to the ARP filter if I don't want it to sound so funky. So even though I'm not sending anything into the other filter, it is there. And if I wanted to switch it while I was playing, I'd have to switch the output too, wouldn't I? But you could, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably just change patches. But so what's happening here, you have the audio input. Voltage Modular is really an effects patch, and the MIDI is going to Voltage Modular, and it's going to the filter frequency of the ladder filter, but it's also going to the synth voice in case I wanted to use that. But I'd have to change the patch cables to do that. It's kind of amazing to me because this CRAFTsynth, if you listen to it without the filter, to me, it kind of has an ARPy sound. Now this one's the ARP filter. So when you play it that way, it sounds more like. So what I'm doing, this is really interesting. So the settings on the filter frequency are probably pretty close. Now this one is also mapped to resonance. So, and one nice thing about Voltage Modular is you save all the MIDI control mapping at the patch level. So it's really nice to use for the audio effects. So what I'm doing, I'm using a 12 decibel 2-pole filter, not the 4-pole. And then the CRAFTsynth already has a 2-pole filter, although it's wide open. But so you kind of get this sound where the external filter isn't imparting that much different audio quality to the CRAFTsynth. So you're really getting the flavor of what the CRAFTsynth sounds like, except that I have chorus on still, but we can change that real quick. So that's with the, I'm going to move this over a little bit. Shoot, there we go. So here's without the filter. If you compared it to the CRAFTsynth where the breath is using the CRAFTsynth filter, which is this patch, kind of similar. Now I turn the external, oops, there it is. External filters off. This is all CRAFTsynth. And then if we take that patch I was just playing, which is the filter opening CRAFTsynth, and we use the ARP filter, so I think it's really close. So it's basically your standard saw lead, and it's going through the filter, and it's 12 decibels, so it's a similar filter. Doesn't impart a lot of funkiness or different quality, as opposed to the ladder filter. Is grittier, grainier. It adds more character to the sound. But the fun thing that I like doing with this is you're in 12 decibels, or the 2-pole. And I switch it to 4-pole, and you can hear it. It's like, and when you use the 4-pole, because it's 24 decibels per octave, it gives you more breath expression, which sometimes I'd rather have it be more cutting, and then you just can switch it down. But what's fun is it's just an easy mouse click and you go between the two. So it's like you can toggle between two filter settings at the same time, which is a great feature of that module, that synth voice module, which is the basic ARP module that you get in the I think it's the Vintage Voice bundle in Voltage Modular. So that's kind of how I use the CRAFTsynth. And I'm doing this on my laptop, but I could just as easily be doing this on my iPad, going through whatever, through the Moog Filtertron app. I could be doing it through the F16 in AUM. I could be doing it through my rack in the virtual modular setup that I use on my iPad. And basically I use an identical process for everything. I mean, that's a really big deal for me, is that while I noodle around with a lot of different plugins, I try to zero in on things where I can use the same process, so I don't have to keep learning different ways to do it. And that's been really helpful, because otherwise I'd never remember anything. It's too much. But because I pick these things that it's like natural selection. It's like over time I just kind of gravitate to these certain ones that I can use the same kind of process, and it works really good. I mean, learning how to work the CRAFTsynth into this was a little bit, because it was like, okay, I have to actually learn how to program that. And I'm going to do some other patches on CRAFTsynth. What do we got on here? And that's all the filter in the CRAFTsynth. That's a really funky one. What's the second one? I don't even remember. Oh, that's my hollow lead. Again, that's just a CRAFTsynth. There's no additional filtering, but then you could add that ARP filter and it works really nice. And I probably like something like this with the 2-pole rather than the 4-pole, because I'm just adding just a little extra control with the breath without altering the tone too much. And I would say the ladder filter seems to sound better on the saw sounds to me. But if I was playing this patch, I actually like the ARP type filter because it doesn't color the sound as much. And I think the CRAFTsynth does have a nice tone. And a cheat you can use with this. So right now, I'm gonna switch this. Hold on. So the audio, when you take the patch with the audio input, this is gonna end up being like 4 videos. When you take the patch from the audio input, you can assign it to different channels. So the fun thing here is right now it's going into the other channel. You can't tell the difference. But what you can do, even though it's an effects patch, you can still bring in the other oscillator. Now, it's an octave apart. That's by design because I think when I set these patches up, I figured out, oh, if I want to have an octave sound, all I have to do is pot up the second oscillator a little bit. That's like a totally different patch. So going back to what we had originally, so this is the CRAFTsynth with nothing added. So that's where if you were getting funky, if I can click on the right thing, if you're getting funky, okay, I need more resonance. And I think I'm still on 12 dB per octave, so I'm going to switch it to 24. Oh, it is on 24. See, you can't get a real good quack out of this filter, which is fine because then you can switch it to the ladder. And it's like, here's how easy that is to switch. Except it's not mapped, but I can do that like in a second. Okay. And I'll just drag the filter out cable. Oh, it's going into both. Whatever. Right now there's no breath going to the ladder filter. Yeah, the one thing with that ladder filter, Yeah, the ladder filter, that gets pretty touchy when you crank the resonance. You can definitely make it self-oscillate if you crank it up. Of course, it's a fun effect. Wow, it's really picking up my heater. I'm gonna turn this off.